If you've got a mobile phone and you're over state pension age, I need you to stay with me for the next several minutes, because right now, this week, there's a genuine surge in text messages designed specifically to steal money from UK pensioners, and the criminals sending them have gotten considerably better at making these messages look real. I'm James Whitfield, and I want to show you exactly what these messages say, why they're so convincing, and the specific steps to protect yourself and anyone in your life who might receive one. Let me read you an actual scam text that's been circulating, reported by a local council after several residents received it. It reads, and I'm reading this exactly as it was sent: DWP benefits officers are in the process of issuing winter benefits. As you have not yet submitted an application for the allowance, the payment cannot be completed. Please complete your application by the deadline, or only eligible applicants will receive between £200 and £300 of allowance. It then includes a link and signs off as the Department of Work and Pensions. Notice what this message does. It mentions a real benefit, the winter fuel payment, that genuinely exists and that genuinely is worth £200 to £300. It creates urgency with a deadline, and it asks you to click a link to claim money you might genuinely be expecting. Every single element of that message is designed to feel legitimate, right up until you actually click through. Here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. The government's own data shows reports of these scam text messages more than doubled in a single week back in late September, and similar surges have continued happening around key payment periods ever since. The pattern is consistent. Fraudsters specifically time these campaigns to coincide with when pensioners are genuinely expecting a real payment, because that's exactly when people are most likely to let their guard down. I want to be completely clear about something the DWP has stated publicly, in their own words. The DWP will never ask for your bank details via text message. Full stop. Genuine winter fuel payments and genuine state pension payments are processed automatically for everyone who qualifies. You are never required to apply through a text message link. You're never asked to verify your bank details by text, and there's no deadline you need to rush to meet through any link sent to your phone. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember that one sentence. The DWP does not ask for personal or bank details by text message, ever, for any reason. Now, I want to walk through how to actually spot one of these messages, because the criminals behind them have become considerably more sophisticated than the scam texts of a few years ago. Several signs are consistent across almost every one of these messages, even as the wording changes. First, look at where the link actually leads. Genuine government communications only ever link to addresses ending in gov.uk. If a text message about a DWP payment, a tax refund, or a benefit application contains a link to anything else, particularly anything with unusual extensions, hyphens, or addresses that almost look right but aren't quite, that's an immediate red flag. Second, look at the urgency. Scam messages consistently create pressure to act immediately. A deadline tomorrow, a payment that will be cancelled, an application that will close. Genuine government departments don't operate this way. If a message is pushing you to act within hours or days or you'll lose money, that pressure itself is the warning sign, regardless of what the message claims to be about. Third, look at who's actually sending it. If the text comes from what looks like an ordinary UK mobile number, rather than a short, official-looking sender ID, that's worth noticing. Legitimate organisations, including HMRC and the DWP, typically use recognised sender names, not personal-looking mobile numbers. Though I want to be honest that scammers have gotten better at spoofing sender names too, so this sign alone isn't foolproof. Fourth, and this is genuinely one of the most reliable signs, look closely at the spelling and punctuation. A lot of these scam messages, including the one I read out earlier, contain small but telling errors, odd letter substitutions, slightly broken grammar, words that look almost right but aren't quite spelled correctly. This happens because many of these campaigns are run by international fraud operations, and the English isn't always perfect, even when everything else about the message looks convincing at first glance. So here's what I want you to actually do if you receive one of these messages, or if you've already clicked a link before realizing what it was. If you receive a suspicious text and haven't clicked anything, the first step is simple. Don't click the link, don't reply, and don't call any number included in the message. Instead, forward the message to 7726. That's a free reporting number that goes directly to your mobile network provider, who use these reports to identify and block the numbers being used by scammers. This single action helps protect not just you, but everyone else who might receive the same message from that number afterward. If the message specifically claims to be from HMRC, you can also report it by forwarding it to 60,599 or by emailing a copy to the phishing address published on the gov.uk website. If you're genuinely unsure whether a message might be real, despite everything I've described, don't use any contact details from the message itself to check. Instead, go directly to gov.uk and search for information on your specific benefit, or call the official number you already know, or that you find independently on the official website. Never trust a phone number or link provided within a suspicious message, even one that claims to offer a way to verify whether the message itself is genuine. If you've already clicked a link and entered any personal or bank details, contact your bank immediately using the number on the back of your card, not any number from the text message, and explain that you may have been targeted by a scam. Most UK banks have dedicated fraud teams who can act quickly to protect your account if you contact them promptly. You should also report the incident to Action Fraud, which is the UK's national reporting centre for fraud and cybercrime. I want to address something specifically for anyone watching this who's caring for an elderly parent or relative, because a lot of the people most affected by these scams aren't necessarily the most vulnerable financially, but simply the least familiar with how convincing these messages have become. If you have a parent or grandparent who manages their own phone and isn't particularly tech confident, it's worth having a direct conversation with them about this specific pattern. Government departments don't text links asking for bank details, ever, regardless of how urgent or official the message looks. I also want to mention something about timing, because it's relevant right now. These scam campaigns consistently spike around specific calendar periods, particularly in the weeks before winter fuel payments are due, and around other key benefit payment dates throughout the year. If you're someone who's expecting any kind of government payment in the coming weeks, that's exactly the period when you're most likely to receive one of these messages, precisely because the scammers know you're anticipating something real. Let me close with the single most important thing to remember. Genuine benefit payments, including the winter fuel payment, the state pension, and pension credit, are processed automatically once you're eligible. You do not need to apply through a text message link for any of them. If a message asks you to click something to claim, confirm, or verify a payment you're owed, that request itself is the scam, regardless of how official it looks or how real the underlying benefit happens to be. If this was useful, please share it with someone in your life who's over state pension age and manages their own phone, particularly if they're not someone who'd naturally think to check a suspicious link before clicking it. A single conversation now could prevent a genuinely difficult financial situation later. Let me give you a few more specific examples of the variations these scams take, because the criminals don't only target winter fuel payments. They've expanded into several other areas, and recognizing the pattern across all of them matters more than memorizing any single message. One common variation poses as HMRC, claiming you're owed a tax refund and need to click a link to claim it. Another claims your national insurance number has been compromised or used fraudulently, and that you need to verify your identity immediately to prevent further action. A third poses as your bank's fraud team, claiming suspicious activity has been detected on your account and asking you to confirm your details or move money to a so-called safe account. None of these are legitimate. Banks do not ask you to move your own money to protect it. HMRC does not text links asking you to verify your national insurance number, and the DWP does not require you to click anything to receive a benefit you're already entitled to. I want to spend a moment on that safe account request specifically, because it's become one of the most financially devastating versions of this scam, and it doesn't always start with a text. Sometimes the text is just the opening move, designed to make you anxious enough that when a follow-up phone call comes in shortly afterward, claiming to be from your bank's fraud department, you're already primed to believe it. The caller will sound calm, professional, and reassuring, and will tell you the only way to protect your money is to transfer it to a new account they'll set up for you, or that they'll guide you through setting up yourself. This is the actual moment the money disappears. No legitimate bank will ever ask you to move your own money anywhere, for any reason, over the phone or via a link in a text. If you ever receive a call like this, regardless of how convincing it sounds, hang up immediately and call your bank back using the number printed on your card or on a genuine recent bank statement, never a number given to you during the suspicious call itself. I also want to address something about how these scams specifically exploit trust in government communication more broadly. Because HMRC genuinely does send legitimate text messages in certain specific circumstances. For example, confirming you've called a particular helpline or providing updates on a tax refund you've genuinely already requested through official channels. This is actually part of why these scams work so well. The existence of real government texts makes people less suspicious of fake ones. The key difference is always the same. A genuine HMRC or DWP text will never ask you to click a link to provide bank details, verify personal information, or claim a payment by entering sensitive data. If a text asks you to do any of those three things, it's fraudulent, regardless of how official the rest of the message sounds. Let me also mention something for anyone who's already lost money to one of these scams, because shame and embarrassment often stop people from reporting it, and that silence helps the scammers continue operating. If you've transferred money or shared personal details after one of these messages, you have not done anything foolish. These campaigns are specifically engineered by professional criminal operations to exploit exactly the kind of trust that a functioning, decent society depends on. Reporting it isn't just about your own situation. Every report helps build the picture that allows networks to be identified and shut down, and helps your bank flag patterns that protect other customers too. The reporting steps are straightforward. Contact your bank immediately if any money has moved. Report the fraud to Action Fraud, either online or by phone, and forward any scam text you've received to 7726, even after the fact, since this still helps block that number from reaching others. I want to close with a practical exercise I'd encourage you to do this week, regardless of whether you've received one of these messages yet. Have a specific conversation with anyone in your life over state pension age about exactly what I've covered today. Not a vague, watch out for scams conversation, but the specific detail that genuine government departments never ask for bank details by text, and that any message asking you to click a link to claim, confirm, or verify a benefit payment should be treated as fraudulent by default, regardless of how official it looks. This single piece of knowledge, properly understood and remembered, is genuinely the most effective protection available against this entire category of fraud. The scammers are relying on people not knowing this simple fact. Knowing it removes almost all of their leverage. If this was useful, share it with someone in your life who's over state pension age and manages their own phone. A single conversation now, before a convincing message arrives, is worth far more than trying to undo the damage after money has already moved. I'll see you in the next one.